The late autumn sun stretched golden fingers across the playground of Crestwood Elementary as Deputy Rachel Monroe stood watch, one hand resting on the coarse fur of her German shepherd, Shadow. The day had been quiet, too. Quiet. Then, without warning, Shadow's ears twitched forward, his body stiffened beneath her touch. Rachel followed his gaze across the courtyard. A well-dressed man in a charcoal coat walked confidently toward the main office. He smiled, too polished, his steps too deliberate. Shadow let out a low growl. Rachel's instincts flared. "What is it, boy?" she murmured. But he was already moving. Just beyond the entrance, the man knelt beside a small girl clutching a pink lunchbox. His hand reached out, friendly, almost rehearsed. For a second, the girl froze. Fear flickered across her face. Shadow saw it first, then chaos. The man grabbed the girl's arm. She screamed. Shadow lunged. Rachel's pulse kicked. "Duty, Monroe." She barked into her radio. "Possible child abduction in progress." Al didn't wait for backup. She sprinted across the playground, her boots pounding the pavement as Shadow streaked ahead like a bullet fired from instinct. Parents turned in confusion, some stepping back, others pulling their children closer. The man yanked the girl, Luna Thompson, 7 years old, toward the parking lot. Her pink lunchbox hit the ground with a hollow thud. "Stop!" Rachel shouted, drawing her weapon. "Let her go." But the man didn't even glance her way. He shoved Luna into the back seat of a silver sedan, waiting with its engine already running. Shadow lunged just as the door slammed shut. His powerful jaws caught the man's sleeve. Through the narrowing gap, fabric tore. The man grunted, twisted free, and threw himself behind the wheel. Rachel fired. Once, twice, but the car peeled out, screeching down the drive. She couldn't risk hitting Luna or Shadow. "Unit 11. She barked into her radio, breathless. "Child abduction in progress. Silver sedan, heading west from Crestwood Elementary. License partial. Charlie 9. Shadow's on pursuit." Shadow had leapt back, pacing beside Rachel as she dashed for her cruiser. He jumped in the passenger seat, nose pressed to the window. As Rachel tore out after the vehicle, sirens howling, she saw something small fluttering on the pavement behind her, a folded piece of paper that had fallen from Luna's pocket. She didn't have time to stop. Not now. They had maybe an hour, maybe less. And if the man behind the wheel was who Rachel feared he was, Luna wasn't the first child, she wouldn't be the last. It wasn't the first time Rachel had chased a ghost. She was 13 when her younger brother Jason vanished. After soccer practice, the sky had looked like this. Soft clouds tinged orange by the setting sun. The same sirens had howled. The same promises had been made. "We're doing everything we can," the detective said. But Jason never came home. 3 weeks later, all they found was his cleats by the riverbank. Rachel remembered standing at the graveside, her hand clutching the small shoelace they'd given back to her. That day she made a silent vow. She would never let another child become a footnote in someone else's tragedy. She didn't choose to work with K9. Not at first. But Shadow changed. That his eyes, keen, protective, human, in their own way, saw the pain she never spoke aloud. And from the first time they saved a runaway kid together, she knew. This was more than a job. This was penance and purpose. Before she was a target, Luna Thompson was the bright light of room 2B. 7 years old with oversized glasses and a love for origami. She spent most lunch breaks folding cranes from napkins or scrap paper. Every Tuesday when the sheriff's unit passed by the school, she'd save a corner of her sandwich for Shadow. He always waited patiently by the gate, tail wagging as she reached into her lunchbox. Deputy Rachel Monroe used to smile, leaning down to chat with Luna, while Shadows soaked in the attention. They talked about homework and dreams, and the new stars Luna was learning to name. What Rachel didn't know, what no one at the school knew, was that Luna's mother, Grace Thompson, was battling stage 4 lymphoma. Nor did they know that Luna's father, Eric Thompson, a local firefighter, had died in the line of duty 3 years earlier, trapped inside a collapsing building during a rescue. Shadow remembered him. He'd been Eric's K-9 partner before reassignment. He knew the scent. He remembered the little girl who used to curl up beside him during thunderstorms when her father worked overnight shifts. Now, as Rachel pieced the story together, everything felt personal. Luna wasn't just a missing child. She was the daughter of a man Shadow had trusted, and the memory of that trust still lingered in the dog's eyes that had seen too much but never forgot the people who mattered. Rachel gripped the steering wheel tighter as they sped toward the highway. Shadow leaned closer to the window, nose twitching. They had to find her, not just because it was her job, because this time the loss would mean breaking the bond between two souls who had already endured too much. His name on the sign-in sheet was Michael Riek. He wore a charcoal suit, clean-shaven, with a leather briefcase and the calm, clipped smile of someone who'd practiced every word in front of a mirror. "I'm Luna's uncle," he told the receptionist at Crestwood Elementary. Her mother had an emergency oncology appointment. "I'm here to pick her up." He handed over a perfectly laminated ID. His voice was calm, rehearsed. The receptionist hesitated, her eyes scanning the school database. "You're not listed as a guardian." Michael's smile never wavered. "She probably forgot to update. Grace has been overwhelmed lately. I'm sure you understand." Outside, Rachel Monroe watched through the glass doors. Shadows stood alert at her side, muscles coiled. The man's posture was wrong, too. Controlled. His eyes flicked toward the exits more than the classroom hallway. Rachel keyed her mic. "Unit 11 to dispatch. Run a background check on a Michael Reddick. Claims to be a relative. Picking up Luna Thompson. Something's off." Inside, Luna hesitated when she saw the man. "Mom didn't say anything about you." "I'm your Uncle Mike, remember?" he said, extending a hand. Shadow's growl deepened. Rachel's instincts snapped into high gear. Then her radio crackled. Negative match. No guardian named Riek. Grace Thompson confirms no appointment. And Luna has no uncle. Rail moved step away from the child. But it was already too late. Radique seized Luna, dragging her toward the doors. The receptionist screamed. Shadow launched a flash of silver. Something small in the man's hand. Not a gun. A remote detonator. "Back off." Riek snarled. "Take One more step and I fill this place with smoke. You'll never find us in time. Smoke billowed across the school lobby. As the canisters deployed, gray clouds, swallowing everything in seconds. The fire alarm blared. Children screamed in distant classrooms. Rachel pressed forward, blind and coughing. Shadow, guiding her through the haze like a compass made of muscle and instinct. Outside, she caught a glimpse. Rick, dragging Luna toward a silver SUV parked half on the curb. Shadow lunged. His jaws found fabric. Radique cried out but managed to shove Luna inside and slam the door shut. Rachel raised her weapon, aimed for the tires but couldn't risk hitting Shadow. The SUV peeled off. Shadow returned to her side, panting, foam flecking his muzzle. Unit 11, she shouted into the radio, climbing into her cruiser. Child abduction in progress. Silver SUV partial plate. Charlie 9 heading southbound on Redfern. One female minor inside. Suspect is armed. Possible explosive. As the sirens wailed and they gave chase, a folded piece of paper tumbled across the sidewalk. Luna's origami crane crushed and smeared with something dark. Rachel didn't stop. Not yet. Minutes later, they lost visual. Shadow, however, hadn't lost the scent. She followed him on foot through the industrial district. Empty warehouses, rusted fences, echoes of a city's forgotten bones. Then a break. Shadow led her to a storage unit with a fresh-cut lock. Inside an empty room, a small office, and on the wall, photos. 5 children, 4 of them crossed out. Luna's picture was the only one left untouched. On the desk a shipping manifest, a schedule, a departure time, 8 p.m. from the nearby freight terminal, international transport. Rachel's stomach turned as she read the handwritten scroll beneath. The manifest. Collection complete. Final. Transfer confirmed. This wasn't random. It wasn't one sick man. It was a system. A machine, a network hiding behind clean suits, false credentials, and bureaucratic loopholes. And Luna was next. Rachel barely made it back to her cruiser when the radio crackled. Monroe, this is Lieutenant Grant. Stand down. FBI is taking over. You're too close to this one. Her pulse skipped. Lieutenant Marshal Grant, her commanding officer, smooth talker, tactical mind, but he'd always carried her at arm's length. Now his voice carried something else. Authority, layered with urgency and something darker. Shadow shifted beside her, tail stiff, ears raised. Her phone buzzed. Confidential LT Marshal Grant under investigation. Possible internal leak. Do not engage. The words hit like a sucker punch. Rachel's fingers found the grip of her sidearm. Her eyes darted to the rear-view mirror just in time to see a second patrol car pulling into the lot. Grant stepped out, calm, confident, wearing the same badge, the same uniform she'd once sworn to trust. You look tired, Deputy, he called out. Why don't we talk? Rachel climbed out. Slowly, keeping one hand on her holster. What's this about? Grant took a few steps closer. His voice dropped. You found something in that storage unit. Something that doesn't belong to you. You mean the photos of 5 missing kids? Rachel shot back. The map. The schedule. He tilted his head. That schedule was never meant for your eyes. You're in on this? She whispered. How many, Grant? How many kids? He didn't blink. You think I keep count? Shadow let out a low growl. Grant sighed. I'm giving you one chance. Hand over the flash drive. Walk away. And if I don't? He glanced at his watch. There's a van. Half a mile from here. One call and you disappear. No badge, no grave, just gone. Rachel stared at him. This man who once pinned her promotion ribbon. You worked beside me for 6 years. And you never asked the right questions, he said. She stepped back. Shadow standard. The German shepherd tensed, growl rising. You shoot me, Grant said. And 10 more take my place. You leak that data. And you're dead by morning. Shadow leapt from the car without a sound. In a heartbeat, he was between them, growling, deep and low. Rachel raised her weapon. Step away, she said. Grant hesitated, then lunged. A shot rang out. Shadow moved as if on instinct, intercepting. Grant mid-stride, knocking him hard to the ground. Rachel pressed her knee to his back, cuffing him as he spat curses. You have no idea what you've started, he hissed. I know exactly what I'm finishing, Rachel said. Rachel sat on the curb, head down, elbows on her knees, while Shadow rested silently at her feet. Grant was in custody, but the damage he'd hinted at, the rot inside, the department, the reach of the network, it lingered like smoke in Rachel's lungs. A soft knock on her car window pulled her back. It was Detective Simone Reyes from Internal Affairs. He handed over a manila folder, her eyes weary. You need to see this. Inside were medical records, court files, custody papers. Rachel flipped through them, her breath catching. Luna Thompson wasn't Grace Thompson's biological daughter. She'd been born Luna Jennings, the child of Eric Jennings, a firefighter, and his first wife who died during childbirth. Grace was listed as stepmother, but never legally adopted Luna. Rachel closed the folder, her throat tight. She'd seen how Grace held Luna after the fire at their last safe house. How Luna clung to her in hospital hallways. How they spoke in quiet, instinctive rhythms that only a true parent and child could. Oh. Biology didn't matter. Love did. She looked up to see Luna standing a few feet away, hair mussed, arms folded. Is it true? The girl asked, voice barely above a whisper. I heard them say, she's not my real mom. Rachel stood slowly, meeting her. Is real isn't always blood, she said softly. Real is who stays when it's hard, who gets up at 2 a.m. when you have nightmares, who braids your hair and knows your favorite dinosaur. Luna blinked, eyes brimming. Mom does all that. Then she's your real mom, Rachel whispered. The girl nodded once. Fiercely, Rachel placed a hand on her shoulder. But there's something else, she added. The man who took you, Radique. He's your biological uncle. He thinks you belong with him because your mom never adopted you legally. I don't want him, Luna said firmly. I want Grace. Shadow stepped forward, nudging her hand with his snout. Rachel smiled through the heaviness in her chest. Then we'll make sure no one ever takes you from her again. It started with a memory. Luna, curled up in Shadow's fur, had whispered something while half asleep at the safe. Us. Daddy's treasure box. The one with the gold key. Karen Grace had blinked at those words, then remembered. Eric had always worn a thin gold key on, a chain alongside his old military dog. Tags. She never asked about it. After the fire that took his life, neither the tags nor the chain were among the recovered belongings. Now standing in front of Merchants' First National Bank, Rachel held her breath. Grace had finally found a backup key hidden deep in an old lockbox of Eric's tools. Rachel had parked blocks away, taking a civilian route in. No uniform, no radio. She couldn't risk being traced. Not after the last threat. Inside, the vault was cold, silent. A bank officer escorted her to box 447. Her hands trembled as she turned the key. Inside, a thick envelope, a flash drive, and something heartbreakingly human. A crumpled child's drawing. 3 figures, smiling. Stick people labeled Daddy, Mommy, Me, with a dog at their feet. Shadow. Rachel took a steadying breath and opened the envelope. Dozens of documents spilled. Financial records tied to shell companies. Photos of luxury cars. Jet manifests. Lists of children's names. Next to numbers. One line chilled her. Inventory. Westport Harbor. 5 units. 4 cleared, 1 pending. Luna Jennings. Another page, a list of approved handlers with photographs. Near the top, Lieutenant Marshal Grant. And at the very bottom, one name scrolled in handwriting that stopped her cold. Chief Raymond Cole, her mentor, the man who recruited her. Rachel's breath hitched as she tucked everything into her jacket and slid the box shut. She didn't hear the soft click of a phone camera nearby, but her phone vibrated seconds later. Message, no name, no number. We know you. Shouldn't have opened it. Outside, black SUVs began circling the block. Rachel didn't sleep that night. She sat in the quiet hospital room, the low hum of machines matching her heartbeat. Well, Luna curled against her mother, no longer just a guardian, but the only person who had ever truly felt like home. Shadow lay at the door, his breath steady, ears perked, ever vigilant. Silent guardian watching over his family. The worst was over for now. The flash drive was in the right hands. Names had been arrested. Some had fled. The system was still broken, but for Luna and Grace, there was finally a pause in the chaos. Luna stirred. She's really my mom, she whispered, eyes still closed. Rachel looked over. Of course she is. She always knew when I was scared. She made peanut butter toast, like Dad did. She sang off key and held my hand when I had bad dreams. Stayed up all night when I was sick. And she never missed a single school play. That's what real moms do, right? Rachel nodded, throat tight. That's exactly what real moms do. The bond between them was never in question. Not to Luna. Not now. Grace was still fighting her illness. But there was fight left in her. More than anyone expected. And Rachel, she understood now. You didn't have to wear a badge to protect someone. You just had to show up again and again. Because sometimes the shield we carry isn't made of Kevlar. It's made of compassion, of choices, of never letting go. This story reminds us that love isn't always born in blood. Sometimes it's born in battle, in late nights, whispered lullabies, and the strength to stand between a child and the darkness. And in a world full of chaos, those who protect without condition. They're the Quiet heroes who change.